dear viewers, YouTube onlookers and my dear sophomores. Good afternoon all of you. This is your PVR English. Welcome back to our ALL session. In today's ALL session, let us learn about one of the most common aspects in our English grammar. So that is the usage of the definite article the. So before getting up into the content, so let me tell you this one of the interesting facts in English language. So that is a palindrome. What is a palindrome? A palindrome is a word, phrase or sequence that reads so backwards as forwards. For example, madam, radar, level, little. So when you read backwards as forwards, you will get the same meanings. This is a palindrome. Right? Without any further delay, let's get up into our today's content. So as you know this, before getting up into today's content, let me invite you all with our taglines. COVID-19 presents learning like never before. After completing this session, you will be able to know what is the definite article the and when do we use the definite article the in different situations. So without any further delay, let's get going to today's content. These are also known as demonstrative adjectives because generally they place just before a noun, so that they also known as demonstrative adjectives. There are two types of articles. So one is definite article and the other one is indefinite article. So we have only one article in definite article, that is the. Whereas indefinite article, so it consists of two articles. So those are a and an. So when do we use an indefinite article? An indefinite article is used just before a singular countable nouns. Okay, we have two articles in fact in indefinite articles. So one is a and the other one is an. So we can use especially when a singular noun which is introducing with a consonant sound. For example, a pen, a book, a pencil, okay, a watch, etc. So whereas we can use an so before a singular countable noun, so which can be introduced with a vowel sound. For example, an umbrella, an interesting film, an interesting, okay, an awesome, an elderly, an amazing, etc. So the sound is very important factor to define so what kind of indefinite article can be used so before the singular countable noun. So now let's find out when do we use the definite article the. So we can use the definite article the so when you want to refer a particular thing, or when you want to specify a particular thing, so we can use definite article the. For example, let's go to the park. That means let's go to the park. So let us go to one of the parks that we have in our towns. Okay, close the door. The door. This is what we call particular when we talk about this. And so in this situation we use definite article the. So let's move on to the next situations. So we can use the definite article the so before newspapers. Before newspapers, we can use the definite article the with the newspapers. For example, so the garden, the Indian Express, okay, the Build, okay, the Hindu, the Deccan Chronicle, the Times of India, etc. Okay, right. So articles are also known as demonstrative adjectives because generally they place just before a noun, so that they also known as demonstrative adjectives. Use the definite article the, so before ordinals. So let us come to know what is an ordinal. So we can define the numbers in two ways, so cardinals and ordinals. So cardinals are numbers, whereas ordinals are ranks. So we can use the definite article the, especially with these ordinals like the first, the second, the last. Okay, so the first half of this film is really interesting. So we can use before ordinals the definite article the. So let's move on to the next situations. So we can use the definite article the before superlative degrees. Before superlative degree, we must use definite article these. For example, so the largest, the highest, the most talented, okay, the most beautiful, okay, so the finest, etc. Let's move on to the next situations. We can use the definite article the, especially the adjectives when they used to refer as a whole, as a noun. We can use the definite article the. For example, the sick, the elderly, the rich, the poor, the disabled, etc. So when we refer this adjective to the entire group as a noun, we can use definite article the. So let's move on to the next situations. So we can use the definite article the, so before decades. For example, in 1980s, that means in 80s. In 90, that means that the 1920s picture, etc. So let's move on to the next ones. We can use the definite article the, so before family names, but not individual name. We can use definite article the before family names. For example, the Tendulkar's family, the Reddy's families, okay, so the Roberts family, the Browns families, the Slater's family, the Jordan's families. So likewise, we can use definite article the before family names. Let's get going to the next situations. We can use the definite article the before, so the proper nouns when they include the names like kingdom, republic, states. So we can use definite article before this type of proper nouns. Let's find out the examples. For example, the People's Republic of China, okay, so the United Kingdom, the USSR, etc. We can use definite article the before the states, before the proper nouns when they include the names like republic, states, or what we call peoples. So generally it is an exception. We do not use any article before proper nouns, but when the proper nouns includes any of these names, so we must use definite article the. So let us move on to the next situations. So we can use the definite article the, so before musical instruments. We use definite article the before musical instruments, the names of musical instruments. For example, the tabla, the guitar, Spanish. So the tabla, the guitar, the violin, the drums, the sitar, the sehanai, etc. Yeah. Yes. So we can use definite article the before the names of any musical instrument. We must use definite article does. Okay. Let's move on to the next situations. We can use the definite article the with the famous buildings, so great works, art, etc. For examples, so the Eiffel Tower, the Taj Mahal, so the Empire's building, etc. We can use the definite article the with especially the directions. Before directions, we must use the definite article the. For example, the east, the west, the north, the south, the southeast, etc. So that's it for today's session. So we will continue this concept in our next video. Until then, so au revoir. This is your PVR English. Stay tuned. I'll be back in our next video. Bye bye.